Hello, it's Stephanie here from HMO Heaven again, and it's great to be back with you. And we've got a corker of a video. We're diving into the deal analysis spreadsheet. This will become a crucial tool for you to help you make sure every deal is a winner for you. Now let's jump inside. I love the deal analysis spreadsheet because it really is the difference between a successful and sustainable business or overstretching yourself and losing money. So when you open up the spreadsheet, the first thing to say is it'll ask you to enable macros. So say yes to that because that helps the calculations be made. Right, so I'm going to go through and show you how to use it. If you're not a spreadsheet person, don't worry, it is simpler than it looks. And we're just going to be putting figures into the blue boxes. All the white cells are calculated automatically. And at the top, we're just going to put in the basic information. So it's 5 beds, 3 baths, it's 2 stories, oops, for this example. And we've got it, the contract term there is 60 months. That's the contract term we usually have with our landlords. So next up, I filled out a few, but I'm going to refill them in with you. So we don't charge tenant admin fees. We did when we very first started, but we don't do that anymore. But if you did, you'd put your tenant admin fee in there, your estimated for the period, your tenants, any other fees that you charge, and here's where you put in the rent, and you put it in the blue boxes because the white box there is calculated automatically. So in this example, I've put that we've got 5 rooms at 400, but say you could have another 2 rooms at 450, for example, and it calculates it all automatically. But this is a fairly typical deal, so we're just going basic here with 5 rooms at £400 each, and automatically it's calculated there, the income each month and the income each year. So sometimes we get a refurb income from the landlord to do the refurb, and that goes towards that there. But usually that would be blank because where the landlord's doing the refurb, they pay the contractors directly normally. So the letting agent fee, now if you've got the deal through a letting agent, you may have paid a fee to the letting agent, so that would go in there. Any fees you pay for land registry, it's only £3, but Nicky likes to include everything. We used to go for the My Deposit insurance. We don't do that now. We use the free insurance, but if you do use a paid deposit scheme, you want to calculate what that's going to cost. So the deposit paid to the owner, again, we don't pay deposits because we do refurbishment and we really look after the properties, and now we've been going for a while as well. We don't need to pay a deposit, but even when we first started, we didn't pay deposits because we were investing so heavily in the properties. So this is guaranteed rent to the owner. So let's just say it's £800. And then here you can insert if you've got any refurbishment. Any refurbishment that you're doing. So you just put it in these columns here, and it would automatically calculate over there. So I'm just going to say that maybe we're doing dressing and maybe there's a bit of furniture that we need to buy. Let's go that way. Okay. So there you get the cost of sales, and that's 50 grand. And we've got the income up there, 120 grand. But now it's the operating expenses. So we're just going to put those in, and I'm going to put our typical costs, and yours might vary. So for us, it's £65. It's usually 2 hours at £15 an hour every fortnight. And that amounts to £65 a month. So council tax, a typical amount here is £110 a month. Electricity, now our electricity for a forecast, we would put in £75 unless we've got the actual figure. So, and £75 for the gas. This will typically, for a normal Victorian house with 3, 4 or 5 bedrooms, it's around that. But if you're going any bigger than that, obviously you need to up this utility cost. And if you're in communication with the landlord, you can ask them. So gardening, we allow £20 a month, but obviously that varies whether it's got a massive garden or whether it's just a tiny little thing or whether it's all concrete. So insurance, we allow £10 there. Management fees, now you can see this is a Nicky thing and you don't need to include this, it's 3%. So what she's doing there is allowing for the cost of managing the property, even though we're managing it ourselves, but things like advertising on spare room, open rent, and we've got staff costs and so on. So she's allowing an amount for that. So minor maintenance there. Now this, it's up to 3%. Usually it's not 3%. Usually it's less than that. So I've just gone with 2% here, but somewhere between 0 and 3 allow there. 1 to 3. You do need to allow something because you will have some minor maintenance. And then the TV license is, £13. And voids I've put in here at 2%, but you can put them up typically for a forecast so that we make sure that we definitely know that the deal will stack. We'll go at 3%. And then we've got water, typically for us that's 60%, and Wi-Fi, typically for us that's £38. And you can see that the cost of operating this HMO here on a monthly basis is £626. And we've got this percentage here which shows that the operating expenses is 71% of the rental income. So that's a total of £31,000 in this case. So then we get to the interesting bit, and this is where we can start playing around with the numbers. So you can see that the monthly net cash flow after all costs is £532 a month. And yeah, the monthly net cash flow, and this is when we're excluding management, maintenance and voids. So if we had 0 management costs, 0 maintenance and 0 voids, which is highly unlikely that all 3 would be 0, but then we would be getting £734 a month. That tells us that for this deal, with the amounts that we've put in here, we can make between 532 and 734 each month. Okay, and this final figure here is just a figure for interest that I wanted to put in. So if we exclude the refurb, how much do we make per month? And then this spreadsheet also shows you how many months it takes to recoup your investment. So I want to go back up and show you what happens if we mess around with things a little bit. And this is why it's good. You can see that there's, we can summarize it. So I've just clicked on this one over here, and it's just giving us the top headings. So it's giving us the income, the cost of income here, cost of sales here, the gross profit here, operating expenses here, and the net profit. And so we can just see what's at the top and what the profit is. And I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so that we get more on the page, so we can change the rent and see what happens to the profit. Okay, so here we've done the rent quite conservative, and we says we're going to pay the owner £800. What about if we says we're going to pay the owner £600? One of our 5 beds, we do pay the owner £600, and you can see what happens there straight away. As you can see, obviously the profit goes up, and after all costs on this, it's £732. So that's good. So you can fiddle around with the numbers and see, okay, what about if we paid £700 to the owner, and it'll update it, and then you decide when you're happy, because you will have already calculated what you think the owner is already receiving, and you'll have talked to the owner about their income and their costs on this property. you can compare and you can go in with something that suits you and is also going to work for them. So that is the beauty of this spreadsheet, is that you can just play around with it and see, okay, what about if they had wanted £900? Okay, then you would make £432 if you paid that £2,000 on the refurb. But maybe you would decide not to do that and to pass those costs on to the owner, or to offer a lower rent. So there's all sorts of things that you can do. I'm going to leave it at I'm going to leave it at that. Okay, and so that's showing you that, and I'm going to scroll down the page and show you the bottom half of the, which is just to show you, say if you first viewed the property, okay, on the 1st of March, and maybe it's taken a while. Sometimes terms are agreed really quickly, sometimes it takes a couple of weeks, sometimes it takes months, and sometimes people go away and then come back to us. So we just complete this because it shows, once you have more than one property, you can see how long on average does it take people to go through, go through and onboard your tenant. So let's say 21st of March, and you can compare it. So it might not mean as much when it's just one property, but when you've got a few properties, you start to see patterns, and you can start to work out ways that you can get through this process faster. And you'll see, especially on the refurbs, that you might be able to get through quicker than when you started. So it's just interesting. It's just for interest, for yourself and for your system. So you can see what happens. It puts in the number of days, and then when you've got more properties, you can compare them. So that's the deal analysis spreadsheet, really handy. And if save these down into your prospective properties folder, and if any landlords do come back to you, you'll be able to see what you originally offered. And that has happened to us many times, that landlords have come back. So it's really useful to have this on file. Of this is to really deliver exceptional service to your customers, to your landlords and to your tenants. And that enables you to be able to run a profitable business where you keep getting new customers, and the deal analysis spreadsheet really helps. So I hope you find it useful. So carry on now and download the deal analysis spreadsheet and test it out with your own deals. I'll see you soon. I'll see you in the next video.